The F-14 Tomcat was, up until quite recently, the primary air defense weapon of the American carrier fleets. It has not yet been totally superseded in that role by the newer F/A-18 Hornet, but both now act together to prevent hostile action against their carrier. Nothing equals the ordnance load carried by the Tomcat as a shipborne interceptor. The F-14 is agile, large, and powerful, a cat with sharp claws. The Grumman F-14 Tomcat carrier-based interceptor is an old design by contemporary world standards, but continual developments and improvements have maintained its capabilities to the extent that it is still a potent threat and an effective deterrent to any hostile air force foolish enough to threaten U.S. Navy carrier battle groups. Its mix of air-to-air weapons is unmatched by any other interceptor type, and its radar is the most capable of any long-range interception radar carried by any fighter today. Over 500 of them were acquired by the Navy, and the ship has become the very heart of carrier life.
The aircraft carrier is the centerpiece of how we carry out our national policies throughout the world. The Navy is the centerpiece, obviously, of the United States Navy, and the Navy revolves around its carrier battle groups. It's the most important piece of equipment I think we have in our national arsenal to keep the peace. It's a big deterrent now in this unstable world where you have small countries that have potential crises developing. To have this type of a capability to be able to send anywhere in the world and to stop a crisis from developing or actually respond to it should it happen, it's a very important part of our national policy. It's also there to reassure our friends and allies throughout the world that we're still actively involved and engaged in the world and very interested in their interests as well as ours. So the aircraft carrier today is even more valuable than it has ever been. And it certainly has been successful because it's been the centerpiece of our policy for the last 50 years since the end of World War II in patrolling the waters overseas as an instrument of protecting our sea lanes, helping our economy as we trade with other nations, and promoting the American ideals abroad. So I think that it has a very, very bright future and certainly is the centerpiece of our policy right now.
On June 18, 1968, the Navy requested proposals for a fleet defense fighter with tandem two-seat crew accommodations, a mix of short, medium, and long-range missiles, an internal cannon, 2 TF-30 turbofans, and track-while-scan long-range radar. The new fighter was to be capable of patrolling 100 to 200 miles from its carrier, remaining on station for up to 2 hours. A secondary close support role was also envisioned for the aircraft, and the plane was to be capable of carrying up to 14,500 pounds of bombs. Maximum speed was to be Mach 2.2. Grumman, General Dynamics, Ling Temco Vought, McDonnell Douglas, and North American Rockwell submitted bids. Grumman was awarded a research, development, test, and evaluation contract on February 3, 1969. During fiscal year 1971, contracts were signed for 12 prototypes and 26 production aircraft. The winning Grumman design featured engines and separate nacelles set well apart from each other so that damage to one of them would have minimal effect on the other. The main central and rear area of the fuselage consisted of 2 separate engine nacelles joined together by a shallow, flat area known as a pancake. At the extreme rear of the aircraft, this pancake is little more than a decking between the engine pods. This leaves a deep tunnel between the engines, which imposes a drag penalty. However, it adds to overall lift, gives an extra attachment area for weapons pylons, and provides some additional fuselage space for fuel and equipment. The rear part of the broad between engines pancake is gently curved upwards to reduce both the supersonic trim drag and the negative zero lift supersonic pitching moment. The modern supercarrier can accommodate hundreds of different aircraft, all having their own specific missions in the defense of the carrier task force. Elevators raise and lower the aircraft to the flight deck from the hangar deck, where most maintenance, fueling, and rearming occur. In hot actions, portions of these tasks can be carried out right on the flight deck itself. With the Tomcat's mix of weapons, it can attack any target at any altitude from ranges between 100 feet to over 100 miles away. A total of 556 F-14As were eventually procured for the U.S. Navy. Color-coded jackets are worn by flight deck personnel, which help to instantly identify specific duties. Yellow for flight direction people, red for ordnance loaders, and so on. Each catapult shot of a Tomcat skyward takes in the exact weight of the specific plane with its accompanying ordnance load and is fed to the shooter, who adjusts the force of the catapult according to the data fed into the device's computer. When an ongoing action requires it, a plane can be launched every 2 minutes. For such a big ship, the Tomcat is surprisingly agile, having been specifically designed to take on MiG-23s and later models of Soviet warbirds. It hardly ever fails to get a lock and fire a homing missile at an adversary. Recovering back aboard is always the scariest part of a carrier pilot's mission, especially when he's flying a large Mach 2.2 ship like a Tomcat. In heavy seas, the deck can be heaving as much as 10 to 15 feet in a second or two. If a pilot misjudges, a foot or two discrepancy can mean ending up a fireball at the stern of the ship. The few seconds just before a cat shot is a nerve-wracking time for both deck crews and the pilot. He must reach cruising speed within seconds of the cat firing, or the plane will wind up in the water. The Naval Strike Warfare Center is one place pilots and wing commanders go to learn what to do with the planes like the Tomcat when it is deployed into the air. Aerial warfare, both at sea and on land, is increasingly becoming a coordinated activity with all elements of the ground and air naval forces supporting one another. For example, naval strike forces are often deployed offshore to support attacking ground troops, as they were in Desert Storm. The Tomcat pilot and his backseat crewmate are sent regularly between tours of duty to Top Gun, the school for Navy fighter pilots and their weapons officers at Miramar, California. Over its vast training ranges, which include all types of topography a pilot may encounter in combat, a rigorous 6 to 8 week training schedule helps to hone the Tomcat team's combat skills. The Navy pilots fly against camouflage-painted adversary planes, piloted by the very best of the breed that can be culled from the nation's fighter forces. They twist, roll, and turn through the skies, all in the hopes of getting behind one another. The ship's radars are tied in with computers on the ground, which keep a real-time update on the action in the air. If an adversary gets a lock on a Tomcat, that plane is dead and must return to base. After the simulated combat mission, extensive debriefings are held to enable each of the pilot and weapons officer trainees to understand what mistakes they made, if any. All students are already combat ready and fully trained. Top Gun simply helps to make them even better. When the Navy Tomcat crew leaves here, they know that they're the best in the world at what they do, and they're ready to go into combat absolutely certain no one, anywhere, or at any time is going to engage them and stay in the air. The school is a tremendous morale booster for all who attend. For combat-ready pilots, this has to be the most exciting, fun job in all the world. Flying high and mixing it up with those who are his equals and seeing who comes out on top. The testosterone levels really peak during these activities. Adversary pilots usually fly planes whose performance mimics the airplanes a Navy pilot is most likely to encounter in a combat situation. At mission's end, the Tomcat crew's work is just beginning. They will either have won or lost during these trials, and now will come debriefing classes that will determine why. At the end of the course, he, his weapons officer, backseat crewmate, and their airplane will return to the fleet and recover aboard their carrier, ready to resume combat air patrols over their battle groups. This is the last test at the end of schooling. After all, they've been away from the carrier environment for quite a while. And while at the school, the Tomcat's pilot has been operating off a land runway. Now he must make sure his carrier landing skills have not degraded in the interim. Apparently they have, for the pilot bolters and must come around again for another try. In this case, the second time is the charm, and he catches the arresting hook perfectly. Launch and recovery is an ongoing process, day after day aboard an aircraft carrier, and the battle groups stationed near hotspots around the world undergo it 24 hours a day. At present, the Persian Gulf and the Adriatic Sea constitute the two main trouble spots in today's world. Airstrikes are continuing over Iraq, not necessarily all flown by Tomcats, but the Navy's task force in the Gulf must be prepared at any hour of the day for retaliatory attacks that could at any time be launched by Iraq. The carrier task force in the Adriatic must take similar precautions. That means Tomcats and Hornets in the air 24 hours a day. The Tomcat's twin engines pump out an awesome combined thrust of over 40,000 pounds with full afterburners. Its amazing maneuverability is enhanced by the twin tail configuration. The wings feature variable sweep ranging from a minimum of 20 degrees to a maximum of 68, which can be set manually on the ground to as much as 75 degrees for carrier stowage. Wing sweep angle is automatically controlled by the air data computer. Throughout the entire speed maneuver regime, an automatic wind sweep program matches the sweep angle to the optimal position. However, the system can be manually overridden by the pilot in an emergency. The two-seat tandem cockpit is enclosed by a single-piece clamshell-type canopy. The pilot is in front, and the radar intercept officer is in the rear. The crew members sit on Martin Baker rocket-propelled ejector seats, which can be used from 0 altitude, 0 airspeed up to 450 knots airspeed. There is minimal duplication of controls and instruments for the pilot and the radar intercept officer. Ranging far out from the carrier is the Tomcat's principal duty station. Both the radar and the crewman's own eyes are continuously vigilant for any possible threat. In late 1983, Tomcats from the USS Eisenhower and Independence flew numerous missions over Lebanon in support of Marines stationed there. Some Tomcats flew reconnaissance missions while other F-14s flew top cover. The Tomcats were fired on by surface-to-air missiles on several occasions, but none were hit. Open conflict between Tomcats and Syrian fighters was avoided. Such examples of near-combat confrontation have been numerous enough in recent years to inspire exceptional fleet vigilance. For another example, in April of 1983, 2 Tomcats operating from the carrier USS America were fired on by Somali troops while flying over the port of Berbera on the Gulf of Aden. These planes were on a prearranged mission, but the Somali forces apparently mistook the Tomcats for Ethiopian attackers. Again, no Tomcats were hit. The guys in green are part of the shooters team and are responsible for lining up the ships for the catapult. When all is clear and ready, the shooter hits the fire button. The airplane's large size can be better appreciated when its scale is readily compared to this pilot making a walk-around prior to a flight. Back at Top Gun, another Tomcat is flown in as part of a new training class. The students learn how mountainous terrain can hold both advantages and disadvantages in terms of combat. The shooter's bubble covers a complex of machinery for controlling the steam catapult operation. The ordnance guys in red signal the pilot that his weaponry and missiles are secure and that he can now taxi to the catapult launching area. The shooter's personnel in green signal their boss the airplane's takeoff weight, 53,000 pounds. They then check the Tomcat's position on the catapult and signal the shooter that this one is good to go. And over 26 tons of airplane are hurled down the deck, reaching 200 miles an hour in just a few seconds. At airspeeds any less than that, the deck crews will have to fish it out of the water before it sinks. The jet blast deflector, or JBD, rises behind the Tomcat to shield anyone behind the jet exhaust. Battleships are still around in the Navy, but their use is limited in today's world. It is the carrier which has claimed their place as flagships of the fleet. Occasionally, Tomcats are called upon to fire in anger, as in August of 1981, when the USS Forrestal and Nimitz entered the Gulf of Sidra in the southern Mediterranean to carry out routine training exercises. The Libyan government claimed the entire Gulf of Sidra as its own territorial waters, a claim which the U.S. government did not accept and chose to contest. Libyan aircraft were sent out to monitor the operation. On August 19th, 2 Libyan Su-22 fighters were shot down by a pair of Tomcats after one of the Su-22s fired a missile at the American warbirds. Both kills were with AIM-9L Sidewinder missiles. This was the first air battle between variable wing geometry fighters. One of the most dangerous jobs aboard a carrier is ordnance maintenance and loading. With wings laid back, the Tomcat is ready for Mach 2 operation. This helps them get to where they have to be in a hurry. In battle, timing is everything, as it proved during Operation Desert Storm. While thousands of other coalition force aircraft launched the main attack against the entrenched Iraqis, Tomcats were tasked with flying top cover for the fleet defense. The opening battle was fought at night, in the wee hours of the morning, so that the attacking coalition aircraft might also have the advantage of surprise. F-117 stealthy Nighthawks opened hostilities with a raid on downtown Baghdad, which contained much of the Iraqi command and control structure. Not one was lost, despite a carpet of ack-ack thick enough to walk on. One by one, Iraqi bunkers and other hard targets were taken out all through that first night of the conflict, which was to continue only days longer before a total Iraqi collapse.
The F-14 was designed to be an air superiority fighter, which means that it takes control of very large volumes of airspace and keeps everybody out of it that we don't want in it. And that allows us to do any other work over somebody's country that we'd like to do, either dropping bombs or just enforcing a no-fly zone. It was designed around, the whole F-14 was designed around a missile and a radar from the very start. We're the only airplane in the world that carries the AIM-54 Phoenix missile, which is the longest range air-to-air missile in the world. And it was designed at a period where we were expecting large volumes of Soviet bombers coming over the horizon at the battle group. So it handles those missions very, very well. It is the best in the world, in fact, at fleet defense. And then in air-to-air combat against other fighters and the more traditional Red Baron type roles, it's still the best in the world. We are on par or better than everyone. There's a lot of interesting things about flying the Tomcat. Most people, for instance, the Iraqis and the Iranians, know the F-14's capability fairly well. When Iran and Iraq fought, the Iranis used their F-14s that they had from the days of the Shah. And the Iraqis learned a very healthy respect for that airplane during that war.
Even today, the armament of the F-14A Tomcat remains the most potent of any interceptor currently in service. It has four basic components: an internal cannon and Sidewinder infrared homing missiles for short-range encounters, Sparrow semi-active radar homing missiles for intermediate-range encounters, and Phoenix missiles for long-range encounters. All of these weapons are directed and controlled by the powerful ANG-AWG-9 control system. The Hughes AIM-54A Phoenix missile is the primary armament of the F-14A, and the Tomcat was originally designed with this missile in mind. The Phoenix missile is propelled by a single-stage Rocketdyne solid-fuel rocket motor, which gives it a velocity at burnout of Mach 3.8 at low altitudes, although Mach 5 can be achieved at high altitudes in the long-range mode. The Tomcat also carries laser-guided 2,000-pound bombs tucked up under its fuselage and under the pancake section between the engine nacelles aft. Today's carrier task force is an awesome warfighting machine. Just one such battle group can utterly destroy a small nation, and two or more carrier groups can wreak havoc over a much larger region. The EA-6B Prowler is the Tomcat's shipmate aboard the carrier, flying electronic warfare countermeasures away missions. Large EWACS, or early warning and countermeasures planes, are also on board to jam the electronics of hostile incoming planes and missiles. The fore and aft elevators can handle up to 2 Tomcats at a time, providing fast, efficient transport between decks. Following a cat shot, the chocking nodule slides back, ready to hook up the next ship for launching, which in this case happens to be a Prowler. It will accompany the Tomcats and provide jamming of any surface-to-air or air-to-air missiles that might try to lock onto them. Precision-guided munitions assure the Tomcat an almost 100% accuracy rate for any attacks it might be involved in. As in this rain of bombs on a SAM site, both missiles are taken out quickly, and most likely any crews which happen to be in the vicinity serving them. The Tomcat's capabilities have earned it a healthy respect abroad and have kept it flying despite some critics' calls for superannuation and retirement. Neither the F-18 Hornet nor even the more advanced F-22, which has yet to reach full production, can yet fully replace such a valuable naval interceptor. Sailors sleep well at night, free from worry. They know they're in the safest place they could be, while the Tomcat is on night patrol.